Well, I don't think I was expecting to come record a podcast episode, but here we are. I'm Albert.
And I'm Kevin. And today we we had heard whispers of it in the paddock during the Singapore Grand Prix. We had heard the hushes and whispers as he walked by. We had seen the teary-eyed expression as he was interviewed post-race. And it was all just a rumor, all just rumors surrounding the honey badger, all just rumors and slight tears behind that incredible smile. And today we received the confirmation that Daniel Ricciardo will no longer be racing in Formula One. He has been removed from his seat in Formula One and is now just a post. He is no longer a Formula One driver and has been replaced by Liam Lawson. This is heartbreaking news. And before I let you just say your thoughts, let me just preface with how big this is. People know the name Lewis Hamilton because he's won 8 races. And people know the name Schumacher, 8 championships. People know the name Schumacher because he's won 8 championships. That speaks for itself. People know the name LeBron because he's so great. Daniel Ricciardo is one of the most famous Formula One drivers alive and living, not just known by people who love the sport. He's known by people who don't even know what F1 is. You have the meme of Harry Styles wearing a Daniel Ricciardo t-shirt. We have people all around the world who love and have crushes on and follow Daniel Ricciardo simply because of the person he is and that kind of clout is larger than life. And to know that he will no longer be in the paddock is really, really heartbreaking. But what is your opinions on this? What do you think?
Well, funny you should ask. Kevin. You highlighted, I think, very beautifully, Daniel Ricciardo is a character larger than life. And I think that is very much exemplified by his appearance, by the exposure of Drive to Survive and his appearance in the show. His infamous moment, obviously, for calling Netflix a bunch of, not going to say that word. Actually, I can't say the word because we're not monetized yet. A bunch of cunts never getting monetized about. And he's just grown to be one of the most affectionate drivers in Formula One. But let's not forget, not only was he a personality in the paddock and on camera, he was also a beast on the track. A career spanning 257 starts, starting with HRT back in 2011 and making his way up to the Red Bull team, I believe, in 2014, alongside Sebastian Vettel, one of the all-time greats. Made his way over to Renault in 2019 after some would say, a canon event in his career that he never recovered from. 2 difficult years with McLaren, I think we could all admit. And we thought after his McLaren, that was the end of it. But he came back, returned in mid-season last year to replace Nick DeVries. And we thought he would fulfill his ambition of getting back to that main Red Bull roster. Unfortunately, he hasn't done it, and he's come to terms and accept it. But a driver of that caliber, 257 starts across 5 teams with the Red Bull family for his entire career, pretty much. He was part of the Red Bull Junior Academy. They funded his Formula One debut on HRT back in 2011. He's had some impressive drives over the years, and has held his own against the likes of Sir Lewis Hamilton, of Sebastian Vettel, of young Max Verstappen. He is one of the best drivers out on the Formula One grid. And it will be a shame to see him go. I think, just someone that's got 8 wins, 32 podiums across those many starts. Might think that's not a lot, but multiple wins in Formula One, especially in the modern day, you've got teams dominating, is a rare feat. I've got to give Danny Rick props for his achievements. And we're all a Danny Rick fan. Even if you say you're not a Danny Rick fan, you are a Danny Rick fan. It's just his personality is contagious. His smile, that laugh, contagious. And you said to yourself, he's larger than life. And it is a shame to see him go, especially in the way that he did. And we can jump right on that. We'll just jump right on that. It was unceremonious and just rancid from the Red Bull organization. It's completely rancid. They left him, that entire weekend, they left him hanging pretty much. Questions, the rumors were going around for a little while that this might be, the Singapore Grand Prix was going to be Danny Rick's last ever race in Formula One, or at least his last race with, RB. And, Red Bull could have made an announcement right then and there, that this is it, this is it for him. And they could have properly celebrated him. The fans would have had a lot of respect for that. Instead, what we were left with, in addition to all the shenanigans and debacles going on in the F1 paddock, generally, just a bunch of confusion. And the fact that fans on the track and online alike, and the presenters, whether that's the main team at Sky Sports F1 or the F1 TV team, or any other broadcaster, the fact that they kind of knew what was up and they tried to send him off the way that they know, because of the impact he's had on the sport. The fact that Red Bull didn't have the decency to do that is very telling. Very telling. Even though they said we're going to discuss their driver conundrum after the Singapore Grand Prix. The fact that, it's just unfortunate how the way things have played out. We kind of saw fans would have seen this coming from a mile away if you've been keeping up with the whole Red Bull Visa Cash App driver conundrum that they've got going on. And it's just unfortunate that how it's ended up playing out. It does leave a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. And it definitely does with me.
Yeah, and so here's, first off, being able to finish a year, even if it was a bad year, being able to finish a year is huge to a Formula One driver. And there's not that many races left. There's about 7 races left, I believe.
There's 6 left.
6
Six
races
left
left.
after Singapore, yeah.
Not that many. You're so close to the finish line. You're so close. And at this point, Liam Lawson already had the seat for next year. That was not up for debate. So to have a driver as influential and as important and as a huge of a member in the Red Bull family as Daniel Ricciardo, to not let him finish the year is robbing him of being able to say goodbye to the sport that he loves and knows and has contributed to for so many years. 12 years. And there's something that I think most drivers look forward to at the end of the year is to finish that last race and to then just start doing donuts. They just all just start doing donuts. And we can cut back to that scene when Mick Schumacher is doing his donuts and they tell him, please, no, don't mess up the car. And you can hear it in his voice. He says, I love you guys. As he was being shooed out the door. He was being kicked out. But they let him finish the season. And you go back to this and you're like, at least give him time to grieve and to say goodbye to the sport that he loves. And now he's getting just cut off. And I know that he had meetings, so this wasn't just out of nowhere, but still, he got no goodbye, no thank you from Red Bull. And in his last race, he still tried to do something for Max. He said, he took the fastest lap and said, if Max at the end of the year wins by 1 point, it'll be the best present I could have given him this year. He knows that he's an influential player and he's someone who contributes a lot to the team in his knowledge, experience, and wisdom. And I think it just shows the brutality of Formula One. And this is a new brutality. This is something new we've seen. This wasn't something that used to happen all the time. Just getting cut out mid-season is not something that used to happen. It was always a possibility. We knew it could happen, but very rarely did it happen, especially as common as we're seeing it now. Logan Sargent, slashed. Now Daniel Ricciardo, slashed. We saw last year Nick DeVries, slashed mid-season. And it's pretty heartbreaking. And I think Formula One is one of the few sports where you have no say in when your time is up. You have no say. We saw it years ago with Pierre Gasly, mid-season, just moved back and swapped. It's one of the few sports where you really don't have any say in how long you get to be in there. It's only 20 drivers. And I think that's what really sucks. You know, I know Daniel Ricciardo, was aware of his shortcomings. He was aware of the way he was struggling and not able to find his rhythm and pace. But still, I'm sure that this year he knew that he was going to retire. He knew that he was going to hang it up, or at least no longer be in the Red Bull family. And still to be kicked out this way is it's just heartbreaking. And it's unfair to him. It's unfair to the fans that have followed him and supported him throughout this year and the years prior. And it's unfair to the sport and the spirit of Formula One, the spirit of tenacity and perseverance and making it to the finish line and the proverbial finish line, which is just finishing another year. And my heart goes out to Danny Rick. Who knows if you'll even hear this, but there's that one edit, that one interviewer put it best. Thank you for the shoey. Thank you for the smile. Thank you for your confidence and pizzazz and swagger in the paddock. His charisma, his ferociousness, his viciousness, his anger and passion on the paddock. You cut back to the meme of him walking off and just screaming into his helmet out of the frustration of what had happened in that race. Thank you for the passion. I have never seen in my lifetime a more passionate driver who celebrated the wins and relished in the losses and just push the sport forward. He really did push the sport forward. He really is an ambassador for Formula One, and he's going to be sorely missed. And this is coming from someone who acknowledges and recognizes that I've called him washed. So I'm not switching up and being like, no, I know that he was not up to the level, but that doesn't mean that you have to just be like cutting someone out, you know? But here we are, and now Liam Lawson gets a chance, and it's a very interesting thing because it's interesting being given an opportunity when you know someone else is at the loss of it, you know, and especially in this way. So there is pressure for him now, and he has to perform, and he's up to the task, and he's going to do a great job. But that's what a way to come into the sport, huh?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm as you're well aware, I am a big proponent of driver academies. I'm a big fan of getting these junior drivers in the lower series, feeder series, Formula 2, Formula 3, getting their chance. Especially ones that have been passed up. I was happy when, whether in F1 or other series, I was happy when Porsche got his chance in IndyCar. I was happy when Doohan finally got the call up to Alpine after the debacle that was Oscar Piastri a couple years back. I was happy when Ollie Behrman got the call up. I was super sub twice this year, and now he's got a full-time seat at Haas. I was ecstatic when they announced Antonelli at Mercedes for next year. Obviously, that's in his poor secret. That was one of the Paddock's worst kept secrets so far this year. Obviously, this tops a lot. Obviously, happy for Liam that he's going to be on the grid again. And this is going to be a test for him. This is not just an audition. This is an audition. I'll get your take, but I see this as an audition for not the V-Carb seat for 2025, but whether or not he is ready to jump up straight into Red Bull racing for 2025 and beyond. We hear the rumors that soar around like mosquitoes flock to light about Max Verstappen possibly wanting to take a step back and retire from Formula One altogether. Right? Those rumors have been back and forth on and off, for at least since this new generation of cars have come out, really, with, the expanding calendar, sprint races, street circuits, and his most recent feud with the FIA about cursing and whatever. That's a topic for another day. And Red Bull are seriously need to start contending for life after Max, or or in this case, possibly, life without check visit. They sound desperate to this. This is a very offhand move, just suddenly, right? Random Thursday in this weird break that we've got between races, right? They just announced, thank you, Daniel, you've done your work, thank you for your service. And then not even half an hour later, welcome back, Liam. Here's your chance. Here's your second chance to, see what you really need of. Right. And so there's a lot riding on Liam's shoulders, and he's going to get a lot of pressure on him, and if not some directed hate, which undeservedly, simply because he's replacing one of the most beloved friends on the grid.
Yeah,
right?
Don't take your anger out on Liam. This isn't his fault.
No.
If you want to be angry at someone, be angry at Christian Horner.
Christian Horner, Helmut Marko, anyways, right? You to get mad at the Red Bull organization. This is the test for Liam Lawson. Like I said, this is an audition for Liam Lawson. They want to audition him to see if he's ready, if he's at the caliber to step into that second Red Bull seat, right? Because as we know, you're a Checo fan. Red Bull's been playing games with Checo since the day since the day he joined the team, right? Playing him a second fiddle in that in the 2021 that entire 2021 season, just having him play, trying to have him be a Valtteri, right? Be that solid number two, and he hasn't delivered those performances that you expect from a consistent, solid number two driver, like Valtteri was back in his day against Sir Lewis. And I feel like it looks like Red Bull are trying to find a way out, right? And they're trying to find anything they can to drop Sergio, right? He's got performance clauses in his contract, right? To where he can get dropped. Let's be real. It's going to happen, right? Just the question is, how soon will he get dropped? And with Liam Lawson coming in, I think the Red Bull organization are going to actively try to push him. They're using this as an opportunity to test him out for that Red Bull seat for 2025. Because they're not considering Yuki Tsunoda for that seat. Why is absolutely beyond me. This is not Yuki Tsunoda's different. He's just an unfortunate NPC in this whole Red Bull driver saga conundrum, right? Right, drivers coming in and out. And you have Yuki right there. He's doing numbers, respectfully. He's putting up performances, but he's just not. It's just like every time we talk about that second seat at Red Bull, every other name comes up on the list. Like every other name comes up on the list. George Russell, right? So you've got Checo, you've got Danny Rick. George Russell's name's been tossed around, and you got the Red Bull family of junior drivers. Lynn Bud in Formula 3, Isaac Hadjar in Formula 2, right? And I think they have a new junior driver in Formula 4 that's making that round as well. I might be wrong there. I'm pulling out of my ass, probably. Right? You had all those, and then you have all the free agents on the market. And aren't George Russell. And then you got Yuki Tsunoda. He's like bottom of the barrel for Red Bull for some reason. That Red Bull's second seat, which sucks because he's fully deserving of that second. He's fully deserving of a drive at a top team, right? It's a shame that he's not getting that chance. Obviously, Liam's getting that. Liam might have that chance if he puts up numbers against Yuki Tsunoda for the rest of the season. Good for him, but you'd win some, you lose some, obviously. So nothing's ever all sunshine and rainbows. Someone's always got to get the short end of the stick in this, no matter what. And in every Red Bull conundrum, including this one, Yuki has gotten the short end of the stick yet again because he's not getting considered for that Red Bull second seat. Right? He's being used as the benchmark for Liam Lawson. Or Wilson to possibly take that second seat away from Checo. Not him.
Yeah, and so that's the question now, right? The question now becomes who is going to fill this vacancy, not this year, but next year? What are Red Bull's larger plans for the future of the Red Bull team? Red Bull has a lot of money, so we know that they're not going anywhere for the time being, at least not for the next 10 years, unless Red Bull randomly goes bankrupt for some reason, which I don't think will happen. So then the question becomes, what is Red Bull's larger plans? What are the whispers going on in the background pertaining to Max Verstappen? What are his plans? What does he want? Does he want to stay in Red Bull? Does he want to go somewhere else? Especially not knowing what the future of Red Bull's performance is with this big vacancy, this big hole left by the the transferring of Adrian Newey. So that's probably what's also going on in the background. It's this huge change in leadership. And so Checo, you mentioned Checo. What's one thing he has going for him? The fact that he has a bunch of money, to be honest. He has a huge following. That is one of the reasons why, if we're being honest, many people will ask, well, why is Checo still in Red Bull? Why does he have the seat as he has? One, he's accepted his role as the number 2 driver, gladly accepted his role, right? And that counts for a lot to Red Bull, and giving Max his spot and saying, you know what, I'm here to support Max as much as he needs to be supported. And then they say, well, he's not really helping. You're right, but he has a ton of money though. He's I bet you Red Bull's catering is very, very good, in part to Checo's money. And I'm sure that the many labs they have, the many R&D spaces they have there, the reason their HQ is so nice is also in part to Checo's money. So that's another thing too. And still, money is not everything, and money cannot fix everything. What is Red Bull's plan for next year? And we really don't know. I wish I had the inside scoop, but I'll tell you this, and this is my prediction. I think, well, Checo's going to finish the year. Depending on how Liam Lawson does, they might want to bring him into the Red Bull car. Here's something that might happen. They might let Liam test one of the Red Bull cars, and at the beginning of a Grand Prix, similar to what they did with Daddy Rick, right? And so, I think that's what they're gonna let him test, see what he does, and depending on how he does, that'll be that. And if he does well, Liam Lawson gets the 2025 seat, and if not, they'll keep Checo on until they can't anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see how not the next few months unroll, because right now the only priority is let's get Max's championship, and let's see if we can maybe salvage this Constructors Cup, this Constructors Championship. But aside from that, it's all about getting up to next year.
So your prediction is Lawson takes the second seat at Red Bull?
No, my prediction is Lawson takes the second seat. No, my prediction is he stays at V-Carb for the rest. Obviously, for the rest of the year. I don't think he takes it next year. I don't think he takes it next year, unless if Red Bull. Okay, if Max Verstappen does not win the Drivers' Championship, Checo's out.
Okay.
If he does win the championship, Checo stays.
So you're saying Checo's future is entirely dependent
on whether he can help
Max win the world status
and his role in winning world champion. Straight up.
That is a proper performance clause. That would be a brutal performance clause if ever I heard one.
Because
you'd be a devious team principal.
But the thing is, because if not, you hear that one song, "What have you done for me lately?" You're great and all, but what have you done for me lately? And if you, as a big of a Checo fan as I am, not much. But that does bring us to another issue that has been happening in Red Bull, and I've been waiting to talk about this. Cue the meme. You need to fix your car because Checo has been saying the car is boxed. I have it on a paper, print it out, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? And
no, he hasn't.
Saying, no, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't.
Speak to my drivers. I have it on the paper, print it out, right?
Well,
and so, rumors came out last week that Checo was right all along. That yes, they have been having issues with the cars stemming from RB19, right?
Yes, from the last year's car.
Stemming
Sorry
from
from the
RB19 from Barcelona.
yeah.
Checo was saying this isn't working, but because Max was good at handling that car, it was tuned to Max's needs in the moment, and he was able to circumvent what little issues they had. They didn't pay attention and said, no, this is not a reflection of the car, but of your poor driving skills, right? And Checo was crashing the car a good amount of times that year. So they also said, don't be mad at us for crashing the car. That's probably what they said in their own way. Due to this year, again, now that Adrian Newey has left, they're really struggling, right? They really are struggling. And so that causes the team to reevaluate and realize that, hey, you know what? This hasn't been the best car available. This hasn't been our best. And as a result, they're going back and saying, oh, we see where we went wrong. And so they're trying to salvage it now. They're trying to fix the car, but still to fix 2 years worth of negligence, not mistakes, but more like negligence is it's, I know that's a heavy word, but that's what it is. And it's because of Max's own talent. He, to be honest, he was so good that they are now like, we don't know why it worked, that we really don't have any idea how it worked. And we're really hoping that you can pull off another miracle. And now that's a whole other enchilada. That's a whole other issue, you know?
Yeah.
But it's wild.
Yeah, no. If we go to that point, if we'll give my 2 cents on that, and then go back to my prediction would be for 2025 and beyond. It. It is fucked. I mean, no, the fact that they dismissed Checo's feedback simply because Max was out driving the living shit out of that car and taking mind-boggling fucking leads and wins and victories, while Checo was meddling in the midfield, back of the top 10, even bashing out, fighting in the back with back markers like Logan Sargent or Joe. It really shows you, obviously, Red Bull prioritizes Max, right? He's their golden child. He's their number one, but it really does show you that, I feel like this is a bigger picture than they don't really value that number 2 driver. They really don't value a number 2, right? If you're number 1 at this team, you get rolled out to the right part. Right? And number 2 is just like the abandoned that neglected middle child, right? And obviously they're acknowledging it now, but as you say, going back, tracing back to 2 years of car development and not knowing where things went wrong. Try to pinpoint where things went wrong, what happened, whether it's a correlation issue or whatever the case may be. They developed it too far one way to prioritize this aspect of the car, now they're running into issues with this other aspect of the car. We'll never know. We're not engineers. Or we're not aero engineers working this level. Right? So it's going to be a lot of work for them. And now, obviously, without the genius of Adrian Newey, who I think most everyone can say was probably the mastermind behind Red Bull's dominance in the ground effect era, it's going to be very difficult for them. I'm not saying that Red Bull's technical leadership is fundamentally flawed or they lack the foundational knowledge that Adrian has. I think that the technical organization, led by Pierre Vachon, I think is a respectable organization in its own right. A respectable team in its own right. But looking at it from a casual's point of view, you like a time up the best car designer ever to have, competed in designed a car in Formula One, jump ship to a different team at the same time. Your team's car start shitting the bed to, to your competitors and McLaren, who still don't seem to have a polished operation of being a championship contending team. Ferrari, who were just Ferrari, and Mercedes, who are stuck between who they want to prioritize and are going through their own car issues, because 1 week they're fucking on top of the world, next week they're back to their mediocre selves like they have been to most of this ground effect era. It's telling, right? The counter with, oh, well, you're genius. Well, you're car genius designer guy left, and now your car's shit in the bed. He's the one that designed your car, and you guys can't figure out what the fuck's going on. Like, for the casual thing, it's obvious. It's obvious, right to say. And backtracking. See if I can backtrack real quick. I've lost my train of thought. Or lost where the hell I was going with that. I'm gonna backtrack real quick. It's a shame, really. Holy cow! I actually lost my train of thought. Let's. What were we talking about before going on this rant on Adrian Newey? What was I at before this?
We were
I know where I wanted to get to.
We were talking about the leadership, and we were talking about we were talking about the future of Red Bull.
Yes. Right, that's where I wanted to get back to eventually. Future of Red Bull and my predictions for 2025 in terms of their driver conundrum and beyond. So let's just stop with the Adrian designing cars point, right? Like, we have gone on enough about their shortcomings that have come up this season. And then the major tech, and going back to the leadership thing, not just losing Adrian Newey, they're losing the sporting director, Jonathan Wheatley, to Audi to become their team principal for 2026. They just lost their head of strategy to McLaren, right? They've lost, Red Bull have, I don't want to say fault and crumbled, but they are losing very key parts of their team, many of whom have been there since the Jaguar days, when Red Bull bought them out. They're losing them to their main rivals. They're losing them to McLaren. They're losing them to Aston Martin's money. They're losing it to Ferrari, right? It's a lot for them, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we move into 2027 and beyond, which in terms of the overall team structure, both on the technical and the sporting side of things, as they try to get their car and team back together. And also, 2026 is over. Just the 2026 season is going to come, but in just about a year, they're going to start car development on that car starting next year, right? Some drivers are probably going to be out of contract at the end of 2025, like George Russell. Obviously, you've got a new slate of junior drivers coming in for 2025, and then you've got juniors in the feeder series that are going to be in 2025, right? So there's a lot of stuff that they've got going on that Red Bull have got to handle. They've got a lot of stuff, not just in the short term for this year, in terms of saving Max's or trying to keep Max's championship hopes competitive, saving their constructor championship hopes, right, for this year, and also trying to get off on the right foot first time next year and into the new era and rules. With that being said, here's my prediction for the Red Bull driver conundrum in 2025. Right, this is my prediction. Checo's still gonna shit the bed, or he's gonna slack behind Max, and Max is gonna slack as well because that red RB20 is iffy, we should say. V-Carb, I think Lawson will beat Sonoda. Not by much, I'll be right. I think they'll keep it competitive, but Lawson will put the numbers up that Red Bull are looking for. All right. Checo is going to be out of the seat. Out of the seat at the end of the year, I think. I think Red Bull, I've said, Red Bull are desperately trying to find any way to drop Checo. And if Lawson could just beat Sonoda, I don't think it has to be like a sweep the floor, right? Like he just has to beat him, like, beat the points or whatever. Just beat him by like a tenth or two a lap, right? And race pace. He can do that, right? Checo's out of his seat. I'm not going to say he's retiring. If he's going to retire, I'm not going to go that far, right? Checo's out of his seat for 2025. Lawson takes that second Red Bull seat. Honestly, not Verstappen. V-Carb sticks with Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, he's already locked in for 2025, right? Which will probably be his last year at that team. And they're going to bring in Isaac Hadjar, who is one of the, I believe he's in title contention for the Formula 2 championship this year, right? Regardless of whether Hadjar wins or loses the championship, or how he does in the final couple races of the F2 season, right? If Lawson beats Sonoda, Lawson takes Checo's seat at Red Bull. Hadjar comes in to that second seat at V-Carb. And then they've got an SD protege in Lindblad. I forget his first name. They're going to promote Lindblad, who's a rookie Formula 2. They're going to promote him up to Formula 2 and try to gauge him out. And the whole Red Bull junior driver conundrum starts all over again. We're going to be asking this question same time next year, right? I'm confident in that. Big confident in that. So, yeah, that's what I've got.
There's one more thing, and I'll end with this. There's one more thing that everyone has been ignoring, and Verstappen has been subtly throwing it out there, and I don't know when it's coming, but I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. He has been subtly hinted and nodded and spoken about his time with Red Bull and sometimes his time in Formula One. He said, I don't want to be here too long. I want to live my life and I want to try new things and try other things. He said it in different interviews. I can pull receipts up. I don't have them with me right now. He does not want to be with Red Bull forever. He has a very long contract. But as we can see, and as we have seen, these contracts are not ironclad. And so...
especially with Red Bull.
Especially with Red Bull. And so there's another thing that I don't think even Red Bull sees coming. Max Verstappen might not want to be here for the Ford project. He might not want to be a part of the future of Red Bull. And that's something that Red Bull really hasn't been thinking about until now.
What, life without last week? Or life after Max?
Life after. I brought it up last week. They don't really have a next generation driver. Right? For many years, that was Max, the next generation. But he is now. Max is now. Max is today. He is not tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow is quickly coming. And I think that's another reason why they said, let's try to get Lawson as prepared as possible. They're doing it in a really sloppy way, and they're not being fair to him because some of the toughest races are coming up. Some of the toughest tracks with the harshest conditions are coming up. And to put a driver through that, it's honestly kind of mean. And to expect him to be able to perform, it's kind of mean.
They did put him, when Lawson stepped in for Danny Rick last year, they did put him through the ringer at Singapore.
They did.
Asia in general during that season. Asia in general is brutal. He'd score points.
He did well. Sure. I don't say that to discredit Liam Lawson. I say it in the sense of, let's not have high expectations. I'd rather be delightfully surprised then sadly disappointed.
Okay.
But what does the future of Red Bull look like? And they're really not prepared to say that it's not Max. They really aren't prepared for that. They think and they hope that Max give them 8 championships, but I don't see that happening. At least not all 8 with Red Bull. Everyone said he's the next Hamilton. He's the first Max. He's the first Max Verstappen. And I think he wants to try other things, and he wants to show the world that he's not just a great Formula One driver, but he's the best racer and driver in the world. And I know that he wants to try other disciplines, but at least for now, he also just wants to try other teams. I bet you he wants to dip his spoon in another pie. He's had this cherry pie for a really long time, and he's looking around and saying, that pecan pie is starting to bake and it's going to be real good. He's looking at other teams that are growing. Maybe he's looking at some green emerald and saying, hey, I want to try you out, you know? So let's also be prepared for the sudden rumors or news that Max Verstappen decides to leave for another team. It's not happening this year. He's going to be here 2025. But past 2025, does he want to be a part of Project Ford? And I leave you with that.
That's a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to our emergency podcast just to talk about this news.
Yes, indeed.
Danny Rick is out of Formula One.
It is, yep. Danny Rick out of Formula One. Danny Rick is out. Liam Lawson's in.
It's not the first time, but this one feels different.
But we don't see the end of Danny Rick. Not just, I mean, I think this is the end of Danny Rick in Formula One, obviously. Hopefully he finds his way onto, if he still wants to race, there's other options for him. If he wants to get into broadcasting, I honestly think there are many opportunities. This is definitely just an out of left field thing. And
he has been broadcasting already with ESPN.
Exactly, right. He's got the charisma. He has the wheel knowledge. I would like to see. He's funny. I'm gonna go on. I think I've made one prediction about Red Bull. I'm gonna end off with my prediction for Red Bull 2025 or 2026 and beyond, actually, and end with where Danny Rick might go or what I want Danny Rick to do. Red Bull 2026, right? I think with if the FIA keep up their shenanigans, right? They increase the sprint races, they introduce more street track. Max is out. Max stays for 2025. I don't think he stays for 2026. What for a combination of no faith in Project Ford, FIA are just dogging on him for stupid things. Like I said, we'll have that conversation another day. F1 being just too demanding commercially. Him wanting to try out other things, other discipline. He might dip. If he does, which I think he will, I think George Russell takes his seat.
No way. You think George Russell will lead Mercedes?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to go out on a limb and say George Russell will take that seat. I'm going to go out and say George Russell.
Do you think it's because of the way they're coddling what's his name?
Have you seen Toto, Lewis and Toto went hand in hand for most of the 2010s, right? And then Toto was touting George Russell as the next Lewis, as the next big thing, right? Yeah. He made the mistake, obviously he made the mistake by putting Russell in the Williams for 3 years, then putting him in the Mercedes right as Mercedes dominance ended. So now Russell's stuck with a Mercedes shitbox compared to the dominant cars. Don't get me wrong, he's still good. He's a proven race winner, right? But now, obviously, Toto's worn off on George. He's now coddling Kimi Antonelli. It's like, oh, Kimi's the next thing. He's the next coming of Max Verstappen. I know we know Antonelli was taking that Mercedes seat for 2025 alongside Russell. You would have thought that Russell, after Lewis, it would have been George Russell for Toto to coddle and build him up into the next Lewis or Max. But we're seeing that with Toto's doing that to Antonelli, and you might think, oh, George there? Like, what was happened there? You know what I mean? Like, why would Toto switch up like that?
It's so interesting that you say this, because that has happened already. And I do not want history to repeat itself. I'll tell you what happened. A young honey badger stepped onto the field, onto the paddock. And his title on the paddock was the future world champion. That was his title. That's what they called him as a young driver, the future world champion. Then came along this pimple having baby at 16 years old who came in and suddenly became number one priority for the team. And as a result, they spent years fighting, 2 to 3 years fighting with each other. And because of the priority given to the new baby, he said, I am taking my talents to Renault, our engine supplier. And that trickled a series of events, a series of unfortunate events for that driver. I do not want history to repeat itself. I'm not saying that he needs to stay loyal to Mercedes and that if he sticks with them, there will be some sort of reward. But be careful when you leave because you're scared that there's a new driver being prioritized. Be a little careful. You know, just, it's tough. But I don't think that's the reason he should leave. But I can't see why. And if he does leave, I would rather see him leave to Ferrari when Lewis Hamilton leaves, which he will soon. He won't be very long at Ferrari. Guarantee that. Or, I don't know. Red Bull is a great team to go to, but I don't think George Russell goes there.
You don't see it happening. I'm crazy, see it happening. So I see it happen. And you know what? We're gonna continue this crazy. You know where I want to see Danny Rick for 2020 or for future?
Where?
This is probably just like a green wish, and people and when I say from where, why the hell do you care about this? And I would like to see Danny Rick lead up a US-based broadcasting team for F1, because obviously we're both Americans, right? So obviously we watch on we watch on ESPN. Right? Hear me out, right? We watch on ESPN in America. If you're watching if you're not an American, in America you can watch F1 two ways, either through F1 TV or through ESPN via ESPN Plus or live on ESPN or ESPN2 or whatever channels. Now, ESPN does not have their own broadcasting team, or they do not own the rights for it, obviously, right? ESPN buys the license to broadcast Formula One races in the US from Sky Sports F1, you fucking Brit. So we have to deal with the annoying voices of, I shouldn't say annoying, but we have to deal with the British accents of Karun Chandok, David Croft, Martin Brundle, Natalie Pinkham, and then maybe that one American every now and again, fucking Danica Patrick or whatever the shit, right? I'm sick and tired of hearing an American TV channel. Fucking money, right? They know F1 in the States is massive. It's a massive base. Why don't ESPN right? And F1 is partially owned by Liberty Media. Why not, hey, American to American, why don't we, pay you a little bit of money so we get exclusive broadcasting rights in the States? We'll build up our own broadcasting team and stuff, right? ESPN has the fucking money. Let's be fucking real. They're not an indie company. It's ESPN. They're owned by Walt Disney. If that happens, I'd love to see Danny Rick as a broadcaster on a new US based broadcasting team, right? Yes, he has an Aussie accent, but fucking America loves him to bits.
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better.
Here,
I'll do you one better. Let me shoot for the stars for real. Every new team needs a senior driver to help that team get on its feet.
Okay.
Danny Rick, 2026, Andretti Scuderia.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we're ending the podcast here. We have gone off the rails. This was supposed to be a 20-minute yap about Danny Rick and Liam Lawson. We've turned it into a regular. We've gone off the rails talking about, we want Danny Rick to be on a Andretti team, or we want Danny Rick to lead ESPN broadcasting, which you and I both know we're talking out of our ass at this point. I think we might have had a little too much to drink this Thursday night. So we're going to stop there. Thank you all very much for listening. Coming on and listening. Obviously, I think we're all in mourning about the loss of our beloved Daniel Ricciardo from the Formula One paddock. 257 starts, 8 victories, 32 podiums, 5 teams, a career spanning 12, 13 years.
12 years.
One of the most beloved drivers of Formula One, and an ambassador to the sport. And all I'd like to say, since from the fans,
thank you. Thank you so much.
And good night. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.